Welcome back, Holistic Soul Sisters. I'm Mandy Rose. I'm your holistic health coach, spiritual mentor, and astrologer. In today's video, we're going to talk all about Mercury in retrograde in the sign of Gemini. This is going to be the most Mercury-est Mercury retrograde that exists this year, and we're going to talk all about why in this video. Now, because this video is all about Mercury retrograde happening in Mercury's home sign of Gemini, I'm going to make sure that I light this sage bundle and cleanse this space because Mercury rules technology and communication. And with this retrograde, even just talking about it, there could be a hint of trickster energy because Mercury is the trickster, and I don't want this video to get messed up or for my communication to be misconstrued and you not to be able to understand what I say, because that is Mercury retrograde vibes. So let's clear the air with this sage and then start this video. So in this video, we're gonna dive into who is Mercury and what is the lessons he's always trying to teach us, what happens when Mercury goes retrograde in the home sign of Gemini, some dates to look out for as this retrograde unfolds. And lastly, I'm going to be talking about some do's and don'ts to prepare you for this retrograde and some other things that you should be embracing during this astrological season. So Mercury is going retrograde from May 30th until June 23rd, and it will be retrograding from 24 degrees of Gemini all the way back to 16 degrees Gemini. This is the second of 3 Mercury retrogrades happening in 2021. The first one occurred in the sign of Aquarius. The second now is happening in the sign of Gemini, and the third will be happening later in the year in September in the sign of Libra. Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra are all considered air energies. So all Mercury retrogrades happening in 2021 are happening in air signs. Air signs represent the mind. Air signs represent the mind, our analytical thinking, our communication, the way that we analyze the world, think about the world, speak about the world. It is all about the mind. And Mercury is the planet of communication. And so when he's doing a retrograde in an air sign, it's really forcing us to think about what we speak, how we speak, who we say things to, how often we speak, in what context we speak about things. Do we speak quiet or loud? Do we speak too much or maybe not enough? And can cause a lot of communication hiccups between us and other people. So when this Mercury retrograde happens from May 30th until June 23rd, I want you to be really, really careful with what you're saying, what you're thinking. And during this Mercury retrograde season, we will actually be having 3 squares to the planet of Neptune. In astrology, a square is a 90-degree angle from one planet to the other. And these are hard conversations. These are when 2 planets are kind of battling each other for power and for understanding. Mercury being the planet of communication and Neptune being the planet of spiritual beliefs, of illusion, of fantasy, of confusion. And so we're having this planet of confusion making a hard conversation with our communication and our logical mind. And so this is something we really need to pay attention to during this Mercury retrograde. And I'll talk more about the specific dates of those exact squares in just a moment. And as I go through this whole video, I will be talking about specific dates and specific degrees that you can look up in your own personal birth charts to see how this Mercury retrograde will be affecting you. But I want you to listen to the overall theme, the overall message of this Mercury retrograde, because we have so many different planets factoring into this, but the message is all the same. We are trying to decipher and learn what the truth is. Mercury wants us to speak our truth. Mercury wants us to think about our belief systems and what we think and feel, how we analyze, how we process information and create our own beliefs. And we will be dealing with, like I said, Neptune, the planet of illusion and fantasy and wearing rose-colored glasses and where we can be more logical instead of just daydreaming through life. We're going to be dealing with Venus, the planet of love and harmony and wanting us to have good relationships. She's going to be hanging out right next to Mercury during this retrograde. And we're also going to have our North Node. The North Node right now in the sky is in Gemini. So this Mercury retrograde is all about leading us to our future destiny, leading us to our purpose, and helping us speak our truth so that our soul's mission can be accomplished in this lifetime. This is a really, really big Mercury retrograde. This Mercury retrograde is happening during eclipse season, smack dab during eclipse season. We're going to be having the lunar eclipse on May 26th and then a solar eclipse on June 10th. Like I said, Mercury is going retrograde from May 30th, just a couple days after that lunar eclipse, and all the way through until June 23rd, through the solar eclipse. So this is really showing us that changes in the way that we think, changes in the way that we communicate are destined and meant to be for us to learn right here, right now. So I want you to go ahead and take a peek at your own personal birth chart. Where does Gemini fall in your birth chart? Which house is this Mercury dancing retrograde through? Is it your first house of your attitude, of your beliefs, of your core, of who you are? Is it your 7th house of relationships? Maybe it's your 10th house of career. Go ahead and find out which house Mercury is dancing retrograde through. Drop it in the comments below, and I'll write you a little note back telling you what you can expect during this Mercury retrograde. And as we go through this Mercury retrograde and you have communications with other people over the course of the next 3 weeks, keep in mind that there's going to be 20 sides to every single story. Facts are not going to be truthful. You might believe something to be a fact and then later find out that it's not a fact at all. So decision making is going to be very, very difficult over these 3 weeks. So don't make any rash decisions. Get all the facts. There's going to be a lot of them. There's going to be different sides. There's going to be different opinions. There's going to be a lot of information coming at you, and you're not going to want to do anything drastic during this Mercury retrograde. Like I'm sure you've heard before, Mercury retrogrades are not a good time to sign contracts. They're not a good time to move forward. They're not a good time to begin anything new because all the information you're getting may not stand on solid ground. So let's first begin with Mercury himself. What does Mercury represent? He rules communication, he rules technology, he rules transportation and traveling, he rules the mind, our analytical thought process, how we process information and turn it into beliefs. And Mercury is also known as the trickster energy. He loves to play tricks on us, making us believe one thing and then later telling us something totally different. He's always at play by teaching us lessons, like giving us a flat tire when we're rushing too fast and we don't want to stop at the gas station and fill things up with air. He will trick us during our travel plans by saying, hey, maybe you should have booked that earlier, or maybe you should have paid better attention to the small fine details. Mercury is a trickster energy. So every time we have a Mercury retrograde, you're going to want to make sure that you don't sign any contracts, that you book all your travel plans, that you make sure all of your technology is backed up. You don't want Mercury to play a role in any of your technology hiccups. And like I said, this Mercury retrograde is going to be the most Mercury-est of Mercury retrogrades because it's happening in the sign of Gemini. Now, what does Gemini rule? Gemini is also about the mind. Like I mentioned, it's an air sign, so it rules our logical thinking. It rules our socialization and our networking, how we like to communicate with other people, what social groups we fit in. It rules our ability to make connections with others and network, whether it's for pleasure or business or whatever reasons that we decide to communicate with others for. Gemini is all about expressing ourselves as well. What do we vocalize to the world, and how do we vocalize? How do we express ourselves? Are we loud? Are we quiet? Do we speak with very big words? Do we speak with slang? You know, it's all about expressing ourselves and who we are in our environments. And the symbol for Gemini is the twins. So the twins represent polarity in life, that we can be this and we can be that. It's not a this or that energy like some of the other zodiac signs. It's this and that. I can be this version of myself around these people, and I can be a version of this self around other people. It doesn't make me two different people. It doesn't make me bipolar. It doesn't make me fake. It makes me realize that I can be different versions of myself in different environments. And so when Mercury is in its home sign of Gemini, it reminds us that we can express ourselves in many different ways. We can socialize with a variety of different people. We can even believe different things that may seem contradictory at the exact same time. Gemini and the twins reminds us that there's polarity in life and we can actually have it all and be it all all within one soul and one human body. Gemini also rules short-term travel. The zodiac sign directly across from Gemini is Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules long-distance travel, foreign travel, traveling to other cultures, and Gemini is all about home travel, short distance travel, traveling within our community, traveling within our state and our country. And so be really careful during this Mercury retrograde, because I know so many of us are excited and ready to get back out there and travel the world, but we need to really focus on staying close to home, socializing close to home. And if you are traveling, like I said, this Mercury retrograde is really going to be strong with the typical Mercury retrograde themes. So you're going to want to make sure you have extra copies of your ID and your passports, extra copies of all the documentation you're going to need while you're traveling. And you're really going to want to lock in those travel plans before Mercury goes retrograde on May 30th. So as we start talking about dates for this Mercury retrograde, I'm going to highlight a few that happened before Mercury's actually going retrograde. Then we're going to dive into the specific 3-week period that Mercury will actively be going retrograde in the sky. And then I'm going to talk really briefly about what we call the post-shadow phase, when Mercury stops going retrograde in the sky and is continuing back on his normal path, getting back on track, and giving us an opportunity to implement everything that he taught us during the retrograde. You're probably catching the video after this date, and that is May 14th. On May 14th, Mercury is going to be at 16 degrees of Gemini. And like I said, he is going to be retrograding in the sky from 24 degrees all the way back to 16 degrees. But before he can go backwards, he's got to go forwards first. So Mercury is on his path, going right along just as expected, and he gets to 16 degrees of Gemini. And that's what we call the pre-shadow phase. The pre-shadow phase is simply when Mercury is going from 16 degrees of Gemini and making his merry way all the way along the sky until 24 degrees of Gemini, where he's going to stop and pause and then go retrograde, like I said, and back dance from 24, 23, 22, 21, all the way back to 16 degrees. That is the retrograde. Before he can go backwards, he's got to make his first pass through. So on May 14th, he is going to be at 16 degrees of Gemini, making his way along the sky to his retrograde spot. And this is the time that we need to start paying attention. What themes are coming up in our lives as Mercury's going along his path? How are we communicating with others? What kind of facts and information are we getting? What kind of logical processes are we participating in, right? Because Mercury rules communication and logic. Are we making our travel plans? Are we double checking? Are we backing up our data? Are we doing everything we need to do to prepare for this Mercury retrograde? A big thing to do from May 14th until May 30th, as Mercury is going along his first path here in the sky, is solve the miscommunication issues that you have with your close relationships. Are you constantly bickering with your partner? Are you constantly miscommunicating about the simple things in life? Maybe you want your husband to do the dishes and he never does the dishes. And instead of saying, babe, I need you to do the dishes 2 days a week to help me out, you come home and you complain. Maybe you're a little passive aggressive and you just get a little irritable and you expect him to read your mind. Mercury retrogrades are not for mind reading. They're for saying what you mean and meaning what you say. So clear up those miscommunications. Maybe you're having a miscommunication with a friend. You're trying to ask them to do something and they're just not getting it and they're acting a totally different way. Wrap up miscommunication issues, get your communication down and solid before Mercury goes retrograde. So from May 14th all the way till May 30th, I want you to start logging in your journals, keeping a mental note, pay attention to what themes are coming up in your life related to your mind, your logic, your thought process, your communication. And you're gonna wanna pin this date because we are gonna come all the way back around full circle at the end of June, early July to this exact date where you're gonna get a chance to redo some things that you've learned during the Mercury retrograde. The next date I want you to pay attention to is May 22nd. This is the first time that Mercury is going to be squaring Neptune. I mentioned this earlier in the video. This is going to happen 3 times. And the first time is on May 22nd. As Mercury is going along his path from 16 degrees all the way to 24, as he goes along, he's going to make a square in the sky to Neptune. Neptune is a very spiritual planet. He's very out there. He's in fantasy land. He loves illusion. He loves to be a dreamer. He's very philosophical, and he wears rose-colored glasses. He wants to believe that the world is just full of beauty and full of love. However, when this happens, an aspect with our logical mind, we can get very confused. This is a very confusing energy. It's already starting to make us feel like we don't know what the truth is. What is the truth? We're wearing rose-colored glasses. We don't know left from right. Is this a fact? Is that a fact? You say this, you say that. I don't know which one of you to believe. And because Neptune is a spiritual planet, it's forcing us to go inside. What do I believe? What is my truth? What do I want to speak about? What do I need to share with the world? What is important to me? I need to lift the veil on what others believe and figure out what I want to believe. So this is the point on May 22nd when we start questioning the truth. You're going to want to start questioning everything you hear, whether it comes from the news, whether it comes from a very reputable person, whether it comes from your best friend or your parents. You're going to want to start questioning what everyone says. Is this the truth? Is it not the truth? Is it my truth? Does it line up with what I believe in? And then on May 26th, we're going to be having a lunar eclipse. This is a really, really big deal. The sun is going to be in Gemini, hanging out with Mercury. And across from that, in the sky, is going to be the moon in Sagittarius. And there's going to be this lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses deal with the north and the south node. The north node is our destiny, it's our karma, it's our purpose, it's our north star, essentially. And the south node deals with our karma, our baggage, our past lives, the things that we need to let go of and drop from our lives so we can get to our north star. So the nodes are very karmic. The nodes are very purposeful. And this eclipse that's happening on the 26th is happening with the south and the north node. And these eclipses are happening in Gemini, where Mercury is going to be retrograding. So not only do we have miscommunication, trying to figure out what the truth is, Neptune with illusion and deception, now we have to deal with the eclipses and this being destiny and this being our purpose. It's really powerful, heavy energy. That's all meant to be. That's really going to shape and shift us into the next chapter of our lives. So this is really exciting. Now, just 2 days later, on May 28th, Venus is going to be coming conjunct with Mercury. We haven't quite began the Mercury retrograde yet. So Mercury, like I said, remember, is from 16 degrees, moving its way to 14, where it will stop, pause, and start retrograding. But right before it gets there, it slows down and it stops. And as it's stopping right here in the sky at about 24 degrees, Venus catches up. Venus pops in and says, I'm here and I have something to say. I need to bring my energy to this Mercury retrograde because I'm about love. I'm about harmony. I'm about peace. I'm about bringing beauty into our lives. And I have something to say during this Mercury retrograde. And she's asking us, what do you want? Where are you being overstimulated in your life? Where are you getting too much information? Are you being overstimulated with YouTube videos? Are you being overstimulated with scrolling on social media? Are you being overstimulated with watching the news too much? Are you taking on too much information that you can't even find the beauty around you? You know, when you're sometimes out with friends and you're too busy checking your phone, you're too busy checking Facebook, that you're not even seeing the beauty of the people around you. Maybe you come home and you just turn on the news right away and you just absorb information, right? Facts coming at you all day that you're not even able to see the beauty around your home. Lighting a candle, putting on your diffuser, wrapping up with a comfy blanket, reading a book that fuels your soul, going out for a walk when you get home from work and looking at the beauty of nature, right? Venus is all about nature and beauty and sensory stimulation. She's coming to this Mercury retrograde saying, hey, stop. Maybe we need to stop absorbing facts, stop absorbing beliefs and information from the outside world, and maybe we need to take a step back and focus on love and connection and beauty with the world. So that's going to be happening right before Mercury goes retrograde. She's reminding us, hey, during this Mercury retrograde, you're not going to know what to believe. You're not going to know what is the truth. So how about we just stop and take a break from the truth, because there's 20 sides to every story, and let's just focus on being heart-centered and focus on what's around us and what we know to be the truth. I know that lighting a candle always makes me feel great. So I'm going to go with that truth. That's my truth, right? So that's an example of why Venus is participating in this Mercury retrograde. And you might notice that because Venus is involved, your taste might change. What you like now in 3 weeks, you might not like anymore. You might love participating in a certain activity socially, like you might love going to clubs and dancing with your friends. But in 3 weeks, when the eclipse season is over and Mercury retrograde is over, you might realize that that's really not how you like to socialize. Maybe you like to socialize with your friends on a one-on-one basis. You like to connect from the heart with Venus and one-on-one conversations so you can listen and experience and hear and communicate yourself better versus going to a club and dancing with 10 of your friends where you don't get to express your truth. You don't get to talk about anything interesting. So pay attention to that as well. And then on May 30th, Mercury starts retrograding. So he has made his way all the way from 16 degrees to 24. He stopped, he paused, he met up with Venus, he squared Neptune once during this pass through, and now he's gonna start going backwards. He's gonna backtrack. And so everything that's been coming up in our lives from May 14th until May 30th, we gotta go over. Retrogrades, reanalyze, reassess, redo, recommit, re-understand, recommunicate, go over it again. And during this point in our lives, we're going to start noticing these themes come up. Maybe we had a full-on conversation with our friend about something. And during this Mercury retrograde, they're like, wait a second, what did you mean? I can't remember what you said. And you say it again. And they're like, wait, I still don't understand you. And you go back and forth and back and forth. Maybe it's with your partner in your relationship. And you're saying, hey, I feel this way. I don't like it when you do this. And they're like, okay, yeah, I get it. I know you don't like when I do that. But then they do it again. And you're like, did you not hear me? Do you not understand me? And they're like, no, I understand you, but I did it this way. And you're like, no, I just don't want you to do it at all. So themes and topics and conversations are going to circle back around as Mercury goes backwards. This is where technology glitches might happen. We might back up our data, and then all of a sudden it's just completely wiped. So you're going to want to double back things up. This is where you made travel plans, and now maybe you're going on that vacation and you booked an Airbnb and you get there and they're like, I don't have a booking for you. So make sure you have copies, make sure you have receipts, make sure you have reminders on your phone that you have to leave at a certain time. Otherwise you're going to be late or an appointment completely gets canceled or delayed. So all through these 3 weeks as Mercury's going retrograde, themes from the past are going to start coming up. Exes might come back into your lives. This is a big thing during most Mercury retrogrades. Exes, friends from the past, people from the past coming back into your life. And this isn't a time to rekindle old flames. This is a time to solve past miscommunications. It's a time to go back to the past, solve what you need to solve, say what you needed to say, speak your truth, and let it go. So the next date I want you to pay attention to is June 5th. This is when Mercury's been almost 1 week into its retrograde period. And this is when Mercury goes square Neptune for the second time. So remember, as he goes forward, he squares Neptune, he continues on his path, he comes back to that same spot and squares Neptune a second time. This is the point where you go, oh, I can see how I misinterpreted that. Oh, I've been believing that you've been saying this the whole time when really you've actually been meaning that, right? A lot of us say things and it's not actually what we mean. So for instance, if you're mad at your partner and you come home from work, let's use the dishes example again. You come home every day from work and they don't do the dishes and there's a mess in the kitchen. You come home and you say, you are so lazy, you don't care about me, you don't this, and you just start spewing out all these words. Well, you're not actually communicating what you want, right? So during this point, the second square to Neptune on June 5th, you're going to be like, oh, I get why he never does the dishes because I'm not actually asking him to do the dishes. I need to say, babe, on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, it would just help me out if you did the dishes because then I could come home and I'll do them the other 2 days a week and I will be in a better mood and things will be so much better for the both of us. Communicate. Say what you mean and mean what you say. And this is a big time now for manifesting, right? You only want to say what you want. Stop saying what you don't want. You never do the dishes. You never pay attention to me. You don't care about me. Every time a sentence comes out of your mouth, if it's something like negative, that's all that's going to continue. That's all that's going to perpetuate. Remember, I said the north node, the eclipses, the north node of our karma, our destiny, our future, our purpose is involved here. So that's manifesting, that's moving towards the future, that's moving forward in our lives. And in order to do that, we need to say what we mean and only mean what we say. So on June 5th is really when we're like, oh, light bulb, I misinterpreted that. Or maybe you watch the news a lot and you're listening to them say the same thing over and over again. And this is the point where you're like, I don't believe that anymore. I might not even believe that at all. You start realizing truths coming out, your own truth, and realizing that you're completely misinterpreting what people are saying on the news, seeing through the illusion, right? Neptune, illusion, rose-colored glasses, confusion, and not being able to understand what's really happening. So this is a really exciting day because we're going to start seeing the people around us also starting to realize their own truth, start deciding what they believe in and not believing all the outside facts and all 20 stories. We don't need to hear 20 sides to every story. All we need to hear is the own voice in our head. And the way to do that is to connect with our heart and disassociate from everyone else's thoughts, beliefs, and opinions, right? And this is the point on June 5th when things start getting wild. Like I said, wild. We had this first eclipse before Mercury went retrograde on May 26th. And now we have the second eclipse that's happening during the Mercury retrograde on June 10th. This gets serious, guys. This gets serious. So on June 10th, we have a solar eclipse, a new moon solar eclipse. And that means that the sun and the moon are conjunct at 20 degrees of Gemini. And we have Mercury right at 20 degrees. So we have the sun, the moon, Mercury smack dab in the middle, all at 20 degrees. And we have the north node of our destiny, of our purpose, of our truth, of our soul's calling at 10 degrees of Gemini. So there's going to be this powerful energy. Not only do we have a powerful eclipse energy happening on June 10th, but we got Mercury going retrograde, we got Saturn going retrograde, Lord Karma, the taskmaster, the timekeeper, tough love dad, giving us discipline and responsibilities and teaching us to grow the hell up, going retrograde, Saturn going retrograde, and Pluto going retrograde at this time. And Pluto is all about our ego, our subconscious. Make sure you check out the videos that I posted on the Saturn retrograde and the Pluto retrograde, because these energies are happening for almost 5 months and they're going to be in full swing during this Mercury retrograde. So now we have on June 10th this eclipse energy happening. And this is where we start to see the change. We see the change around us, we see the change within us, and we see the root issues. We see why we're misinterpreting. We realize why we're miscommunicating. We realize why people are saying things to us that they may not even mean. We go, oh, I see that maybe you're yelling at me all the time because you have some inner trauma, some unhealed stuff within yourself, and it has nothing to do with me at all. And I'm not going to accept it. I'm just going to let you yell and vent and get it all out, and I'm not going to take it on me. The root cause issue is you and your problems. Or maybe at work, you're going to realize the root cause issue is that your boss is understaffed and stressed out, and they're just dumping it all on you, and you don't need to take it on anymore. So that miscommunication, you see clearly now. The rose-colored glasses are off. The truth is exposed. You've sifted and sorted through all the information, and you're going, wow, wow. This is a moment of wow. So this is going to be dramatic. It's going to be intense. It's going down. And this is the point in 2021 when it all begins to change, when the truth comes out and it all starts to change from here on out. And then we make it all the way to June 22nd. This is when Mercury is going direct, and he's all the way back at 16 degrees of Gemini. Remember on May 14th, he walked and walked and walked, made it to 24 degrees. Then he retrograded from 24 all the way back to 16 degrees. On June 22nd, he is back at 16 degrees of Gemini. And this is where I said, remember, put a pin in May 14th, because we've made it all the way back to May 14th. And those themes that were coming up and what we had to analyze during Mercury retrograde and everything that we've been learning and realizing and opening up our mind to, we are right back in the same spot energetically. And now this is exciting. This is our opportunity to put all that into practice, to implement everything that we've learned, every truth, every realization, everything that's been coming to us, our new mindset, our new beliefs, our new truths, our new facts, everything we can now implement into our life. It's easy to fall back into old patterns. It's easy to come back home from work and be frustrated and yell at your husband and be passive aggressive, but this is our opportunity to do it different. We've learned, we've grown. Mercury is our life coach in this area of our life, and he's been like, hey, I've been giving you all the lessons. What are you going to do with it? You want to grow? You want to be the next version of yourself? You want to move on? This is the time to do it. And then Mercury's still got to hang out here at 16 degrees and get back on track and move all the way back to 24 degrees and keep going on his path into the next zodiac sign of Cancer and Leo and Virgo until he gets to Libra, where he's going to do another retrograde in September. As we move from June 22nd all the way until July 7th, that is what we call the post-shadow phase. So the pre-shadow is when he did his first pass through from 16 to 24. Retrograde was from 24 back to 16. And now we call this the post-shadow, where he gets back on track from 16, going over this area of the sky for a third time, going back over this point in the sky. He's going to make his third square to Neptune, saying, hey, Dear old friend Neptune, I know we've had a hard conversation twice. I know that you've been implementing your illusions and fantasies and asking me to take off my rose-colored glasses and realize the truth. And here I am for a third time saying, hey, I see you there and I see it clearly now. And so all in all, I'm going to leave you guys with just some final tips for this Mercury retrograde. Number one, back up your technology. Back up your technology. Be aware of hacking. Be aware of data breaching. Make sure that you secure all of your information and your technology. Have double copies, have triple copies. Just be really careful because this is a Mercury-est Mercury retrograde that exists. Number two, travel during this time. Eek! I know, like I said, a lot of people are excited to get back out there and travel. Just be really careful. Have AAA, check your tire pressure, change your oil, book everything ahead of time. Bring all your travel documents, bring a second form of ID, whatever you gotta do, just double check everything before you go on your trip. Number three, contracts, don't sign it. Don't do it if you can avoid it. Now, if you have something that's been in the works and you've seen the contract many, many times, and this is just finalizing the information, that's totally okay. If it's something that's already been in process, totally fine. But you don't want to purchase new things and you don't want to sign new contracts during a Mercury retrograde, especially this one. Remember, I said there's going to be a lot of facts. You're not going to know what the truth is. Just a lot of confusion around everything. So you want to be really careful about starting anything new and signing contracts. Number four, rekindle those old friendships. This is a great time to go back. Retrogrades, redo, recommunicate, like clear up the air with a friend. Maybe there's been something that's kind of been the elephant in the room about something that happened a long time ago. This is a great opportunity to bring it back up, clear the air so your friendship can move forward. Same thing goes for relationships. Maybe there's something you haven't been saying. Get that communication out there, maybe before the retrograde even begins, and get your communication on solid ground. Maybe you realize that with your partner, it's easier to write them a note about how you feel. Maybe it's easier to give them a to-do list in the morning versus calling them throughout the day saying, hey, can you do this for me? Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? Maybe you just write it all down in the morning and you get on the same page. And number five, just be very soft, gentle, and kind with your words. Venus is involved. Remember at the beginning of all of this, Venus hung out with Mercury and said, come from the heart. Try to speak a little softer, speak a little bit more gentle, use kinder words, a little bit more compassion is going to go a really, really long way during this Mercury retrograde. Number six, mean what you say and say what you mean. Nothing more, nothing extra. We don't need to be spewing all this stuff from the past. We don't need to be saying a bunch of extra things. Get to the point. Only say what you mean and make sure that everything that comes out of your mouth you actually mean, because it's going to stick with people for a long time. And like I said, manifest. Only say what you want to be true. Don't say negative things. If you want something to change, speak it into existence, because Mercury is communication, Gemini is the mind, and the North Node is all about our purpose and our destiny. So that about sums up this video. I hope this gave you so much information. I know I dived into a lot of dates. It's happening during eclipse season, and I know it'll affect us in many, many ways. So sorry this video is a little bit more lengthy, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have your copy of the 2021 retrograde journal, make sure that you fill it out because I'm telling you, the answers that you're going to write down before the retrograde begins may not be the exact same answers that you have when the retrograde is all over. If you haven't gotten your copy yet, I still have some copies for sale for the discounted price at $25. So you can just reach me below through email or on Instagram and I will get you a copy. Even though we are in the middle of the year, don't worry, there's many, many more journal prompts to fill out, many more full and new moon rituals to perform, and you can always go back because it's part interactive journal with journal prompts. And the other half of this journal is all about learning all the zodiac signs, learning about the planets, and learning all about the astrology. So you can always go back and still reread and learn as we go throughout the rest of the year. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I look forward to chatting with you in the next video, and good luck during this season.